DEBRA COCO, and welcome to the Just Gimme the Mic show, where we pass the mic so you can tell the world who you are and what it is that you do. Welcome. Check us out every Sunday night at 10 p.m. on BronxNet Channel 68, and look for us on YouTube.
Okay. Hey everybody, I'm your host, DEBRA COCO, and welcome to the Just Gimme the Mic show. You know you can check us out here on BronxNet Cablevision every Sunday at 10 p.m. We have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to actually talk to a promoter of Regal Quality brand. He's joining us, Mr. Andre Morrison, in the building today. We're going to talk about some of his promoting events, how he got started in the game, and also a very dear cause, a cause that's very dear to his heart. We're going to give some awareness to that today as well. So thank you, Andre. Mr. Morrison, I got to be professional, even though he's my friend, Mr. Morrison. Thank you for joining me on the show. And you got this whole new brand now, this Regal Quality that's all over the place, making a lot of noise. Everybody's following your movement now. Give us a little background on what made you want to get into promoting and doing events.
Well, promoting, I'm from a part of the Bronx, the West Bronx, in Harlem, whereas hip hop was first, and a lot of party life and all that people originated from and so forth or resided in. So therefore, it was always in the bloodstream. I'm also in the area with the birth of Rough Riders Records.
Right.
So
that's true.
I was there as an infant, within that foundation, Bad Boy Rough Riders. So
nice.
As a fan and a supporter as a child and so forth, when it comes to this point in life, you want to transfer it into a different setting. I played my role. I didn't want no part of it in the beginning.
I was about to ask you, so what did you do when you were younger? Like, did you go with them to events? Did you help put stuff together? Or did you just support, like, the whole Rough Rider movement coming up?
Well, the Rough Rider movement, once we was going to go to places like Baltimore or so forth and road trips like that, you support in terms of just whatever, from T-shirts to wearing the bandana on your head.
To helping to promote the brand. Right.
So, some of them, they knew my role more because I was always in corporate America, always.
Okay.
Like, since I started working, I was in corporate America for many years. So they said to put it into a marketing, community relations within the computer systems. And,
Nice.
So like the outreach programs was initiated, basically the first organization to do, or rap label to do the community outreach through the computer scenes.
Nice,
was
okay.
like Rough Riders.
Nice, okay. So you was a part of that whole launch and that explosion at that time.
Because I was born a civil rights activist. That's the following I was under. So I was.
Yeah, I know you're very serious about that as well.
Right. I'm about the people in the community. 110%.
No, yeah, because we used to talk about that when we first met. A lot of different movements and stuff that was happening. So now, as an adult, okay, here you are now. When I met you, like I'm starting this brand. I'm out here. I'm doing parties and events. So what? Now that we found out the basis of how you really got into marketing from a young child, how does it feel now? Your brand being in the midst of all these other brands, all these different events. How do you feel right now about your placement within this industry?
Well, yeah, I got injected into this industry, on a special cause. Promoter reached out and finally it's okay. That was the green light. Everybody was trying to reach out before, and like I said, I was reluctant.
It's like,
you gotta have it in your heart.
Right. So and the timing has to be right.
Right. So I give a shout out to the promoter, Ed Papers, for reaching out and saying, listen, get on board with this and so forth.
That's how we met.
Right.
Actually, at my birthday party that Mr. Papers actually did. Big shout out to Ed Papers on that.
Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir. And also but I have gotten tutelage for decades over the other founder of Martini Monday Star.
Okay,
and other people that was like I kept asking them a question like a kid, like, how you do this and how you do that. And then, of course, people from Bad Boy Records and Rough Riders that's into the marketing I've talked with and, got that going and get that, because I take notes. I'm humble. I take notes.
No, you do. You do. You're very serious about doing this the right way.
Right.
And, and making sure you have good relations across the board, which is very important in this game, right?
Yes, indeed.
Right. Good relations with different promoters. It's not just about being competitive. Or you all together. Everybody's together. Everybody got their own brand, their own lane. Right? So.
I mean, you look at it as, I know we use certain techniques to get your marketing across. My technique, I'm from the element. I am the element to a degree, but I avoided the harshness of the element.
Okay.
Some of the most, notorious peoples or these legends out here, they made it their business to keep me out of those such elements. I'm not afraid to admit that I went to school and did everything right, and
lived a good life, right?
So I mean, I'm the other half of what you call your hood elements. So, some people get caught up in the raptors. Some people navigate the waves and able to go to a new level.
Right.
But we all still have a battle, everyday life.
We're still fighting the same battle, but just from a different area. That's all, but it's all the same, right?
We're always one paycheck from poverty.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
for real.
so when we do that, finally it was brought to the forefront. And at first, I'm like, well, how can I be a civil rights activist? And then
like party over here, right? But how'd you mix it?
I was at a mosque actually, because I'm a follower of all nations, and a guy or brother that actually knew Malcolm, the person that I held dear to the heart in studies, said, Malcolm loved jazz. So even though Malcolm X's time off, he was a jazz and goes to the club, but knew how to put a distance to. He says, there's nothing wrong with the movement, just put a substance to the movement. You see what I'm saying?
Quality. That leads us to Regal Quality, right?
That name took me, shout out to the person that helped me with that name as well. That name took me, you as well, a day and constant, 24 hours straight thinking.
Serious thought went behind that.
Yes, I went behind that because I wanted it to reach out to every mass possible. Even I deal with autism. My sons were affected with autism. So I wanted something to say that their quality, their Regal quality, other names was, snatched up, but then that one just popped in, and I said, my lifestyle, Regal quality.
Right.
My community, Regal quality.
It stands out.
Right, right.
And your logo actually matches it perfectly. Now, since you brought up autism, we definitely want to talk about that, but before I change lanes, let's talk about where your events are now. Promote where people could come and support what you're doing right now.
I'm right now, we are at a spot in the Bronx. I moved it uptown called Essentials, 608 East Fordham Road. We over there Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays?
Right.
Is it like right after work from 6 to 12?
It jumps right into it. I got people in that building from 5 o'clock to midnight.
Okay, so you could come through right after work and just come through and have a good time. Great food, great music, great atmosphere and ambiance.
Right.
Excellent place to go check out, y'all. And where else are you at?
Right now, I'm also doing rooftop events throughout the summer in the Novotel Hotel. That's in Times Square.
Oh, Lower Manhattan. Okay.
That means Midtown. Midtown.
Oh yeah, Midtown, not Lower. Midtown, right.
I'm right smack where the ball drops. The hotel's right there.
That's a prime location.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
It's sexy in there.
Novotel is in there. Rooftop, we have that. All right, next event will be June 25th.
Okay.
I'm with Capital and Promotions with that one. Shout out to them for putting me on.
Yeah, big shout out.
And I also do the Sky Room, the Rooftop, which is on 40th Street.
I'm seeing that all over.
Yeah.
Rooftop.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, you got to start from somewhere.
So you started in Harlem.
Right.
Then you moved up to the Bronx. Now you got the Midtown location. Right. 2 different spots now during the week. So what day is the rooftop? Which day do you do rooftop?
We mostly would do day parties. So it'd be between a Saturday and a Sunday.
Saturday, it's a weekend event.
Sunday event, weekend event. The Sky Room, you mostly can do it on Saturday night, Friday night. It pertains. It just depends on what. And
you have a group page too, Regal Quality on
Regal Quality on Facebook. Hit me up on Regal Quality.
Yes, REGAL, and you post all your events and everything you're doing at that one central location, right? Yeah. So make sure you send him if you want to find out about some of the events, who's going to be, because he always posts who's coming, who's going to be celebrating birthday parties, any special DJs or anything like that, or themes that you do. You can also go to his group page and find that out as well. So I know we're kind of limited for time, but I do definitely want to talk about the awareness for autism and how that affects you, and if you could provide us with any information pertaining where they can get more information, let's get into that.
Right. I have a page on Facebook, Autism Lives Matter, ALM Society. We have that on Facebook. Autism, it's always been in the atmosphere, because when you tell me something, I'm more about the kids. But then it hit personal when I had my twin boys in 2010, and we realized the situation wasn't right in terms of basic motor skills and so forth. So they was diagnosed with autism.
About how old were they?
They was under 3 when they get it, which is key. If you have your babies, get them checked out, because early intervention programs is very successful if they catch it early.
Right.
You know, my kids couldn't recognize their names at one point. So we dealt with that. And then in 2014, unfortunately, the first of my twins, Jaden Morrison, he passed running out the house and eventually drowned.
Yeah. Condolences on that again. I remember that story.
Thank you. At the end of the day, and now I'm distraught, and over that, I still have his brother, Jordan Morrison. I call him the unsung hero because everything is Jaden, but Jordan is still there navigating, and he has to deal with this everyday life of dealing with autism.
Right.
So instead of mourning and going into a depression and being selfish in my sorrow, my relief actually is to provide methods and communications towards the 1 in 68 kids, and maybe even that shorter than stat of parents.
Wow.
That have to deal with.
The statistics is so high. Like,
Right.
I remember growing up as a child, I don't remember hearing about, it's like, let's say early 2000, it just became everywhere you turn. It was like either ADHD, ADD,
Right.
autism, like, it's like all of these different conditions just, I'm quite sure they were around, but I don't know.
They called them retarded. They called them.
They had other names for it.
Right.
That's what
crazy,
it was.
Crazy.
Okay.
That we didn't have a scientific name for it at
Right.
those times.
Okay.
You look at some of the people. Once you study the symptoms of autism, you're
around.
probably going to hit a guilt trip. Like, oh my God, that person was going through it back then in those days.
I have a lot of adults my age that raised children that thought their kids were bad. They didn't understand that their child needed some type of help. So you're right. I'm glad now there's organizations that's heightening the awareness of, and like you and the page that you started and your quest for like bringing up the information. I know you do events also that's catered towards autism and helping people to understand.
I'm Marlo Lemon, and I have a wonderful husband by the name of Frizzell, and I have 3 beautiful children. I call them my double blessing and my little surprise, because Joshua and Matthew are twins, and they are now 7, and my daughter is 5 3/4. Her name is Victoria. She'll be 6 in April. Matthew is my son that's diagnosed with autism. He was officially diagnosed at Kennedy at 2 years, 3 months. The signs were there. The signs were there with the lack of eye contact and his not pointing, not necessarily following me with his eyes, but it's things that I know now. The looking at the fan and purpose going on and on and on with it. Taking cars and spinning the wheels. I didn't know to teach him to play appropriately with the toys. Within our early achievements classes here, Matthew was the only African American within his group of 5 or 6. I do feel like we are definitely underrepresented. However, in our culture, family, one, is very, very important. We tend to listen to family, and a lot of times not necessarily acknowledge mental health disorders. But if a physician or someone says, well, let's give it a couple of more months, let's wait and see. Even if your gut intuition says something might not be right, we tend to listen to our doctors or health professionals. We don't question as much. A lot of times you have to step out in this journey, particularly as African Americans, by yourself. No one else might not believe that something's wrong with your child. You have that instinct. And it might be that you have to stand up on your own, sometimes against family, and just get them the help that they need. I can't imagine where Matthew would be now if he had not gotten early intervention. At 7, yes, he's nonverbal, but he definitely can communicate. We've given him different ways to communicate, not only with us, but now within the outside world using assistive technology. For Matthew, the reason I knew he really was doing a lot better, I would always say, Matthew, come here. Matthew, look at cup. Matthew, pick up cup. Matthew, put cup in sink. But one day, just talking regularly, I said to him, Matthew, get the cup and go put it in the sink. And Matthew got the cup, he put it in the sink. And that's a conversation I would have had with Joshua and Victoria. Meeting parents where they are, not necessarily putting labels on it, giving parents strategies and tools to work with their child. The importance of play. My vocabulary changed. Follow your instincts. If you believe that something is off, follow your instincts. Regardless of Matthew's diagnosis, I've always said, you know, we have to give him what he needs. We have to maximize Matthew's potential. But that's my personality. A lot of times people or parents get stuck in the, oh, woe is me, it can't be my child, and we need to move on from that. I have found in these 7 years that parents, I belong to a lot of parent groups, and they are the best resources.
You know, autism as well. So finish telling us about your page. I know you said they can find the group on Facebook.
You go in there, you type on Facebook, you type in ALM Society, which means Autism Lives Matter Society.
Okay.
You type that in, it'll pop up. There's a lot of mothers and parents on there.
Okay, good.
Sharing
stories.
It's about their business. They're about their business here, Westchester County, and across the nation.
Okay.
Because what happened after the tragedy, everybody just started networking.
Yes.
Because you need it. The first thing in autism is for parental awareness. Like I look into the mic and say, I am Andre Morrison. I'm a father of a child with autism. That's key. That's something right hand problem. So
No, I know what you mean by that.
Right. That's key because you have to acknowledge that within yourself, so that you can handle that situation and not be in denial.
Right.
Until you're looking into a tragedy.
Wow.
Thank God I wasn't in there before the tragedy, but still, you have to have awareness on that. There's autism. The Hawthorne Day Country School up in Hawthorne, New York is another great place that helped my kids and many other kids, and also the Alcott School in Scarsdale.
Okay.
Those were great things that had my kids' eye contact getting better and so forth. So, acknowledging their name and all that. So it's good.
I started worrying about the boys around 2 years old.
I didn't think anything until they was about 3 years old.
I remember when Z was about 1.5, when I noticed that he was different from his siblings.
When Z was about 3 months, I noticed that he wouldn't watch me. When I came in the room, he wouldn't acknowledge me at all, like most children do.
And around 1, we noticed he really wasn't communicating, he wasn't making much noises. He was a lot more active than his older sister. He would get into a lot more things. And I guess we thought, before we even thought anything was different, thought maybe it was him being a boy.
EJ will climb stairs, he'll jump from TV stands and the couches, not knowing that it's dangerous. They had problems telling me, things that they want and speaking in full sentences.
Because he can't get out what he wants to say, so he'll bang, he'll just scream out,
He wasn't walking, he wasn't talking, he wouldn't eat certain things, and
it wasn't until she started at a daycare program and the teachers started kind of expressing their concerns for her because she was talking in a lot of what they like to call jargon, where she was jumbling up her words and then you only understand maybe 1 out of 10 words in a sentence. She was just everywhere but where she was supposed to be. So I said, okay, I took her to her doctor. I asked a lot of questions. You think it might be like ADD, ADHD? Autism never really crossed my mind in the beginning, and her doctor kind of waved it off like, oh, her exact words were, oh girl, please, no, there's nothing wrong with her.
I asked his pediatrician. He said, oh, he's just a boy, they do things differently because they're boys.
I had no idea that my son could be autistic, even when I was being told by my sister-in-law and somewhat by my wife to get him checked out.
I wasn't aware of what autism was.
When they first said the autism word, I was like, what? I didn't know what it was.
I never really heard of autism before, at all.
The key issue with autism, for me, it will always be that lack of engaging with your child.
Eye contact, attention span. For example, if we went to the playground, instead of wanting to find children to play with, he would just be in his own little world.
If they're together and another kid is, trying to talk to them, they'll block them out, and if they don't answer yes or no, they'll repeat what we said.
He would walk around the house flapping his arms. He goes through the house as if no one's there but him.
He'll approach a part of a video, a movie, he'll stop it, he'll rewind it, and he'll play it again. It'll get to the end of it, he'll stop it, he'll rewind it, he'll play it again, and he does it over and over and over again.
I know every child is different, so I was like, maybe he just learning differently, or it just wasn't, because he learned how to walk really, really fast.
He did.
When I really noticed is when he was around like 1.5, when he wasn't saying any kind of words.
My mother says she's known since he was, I guess, 18 months that something was different.
I tried to initially kind of put it off as, oh well, he's a boy. I knew deep down that there was something different, and that he needed some help, with his development. I just didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to actually really do, so we were just doing everything. We was just like trying to make him eat different foods that he wouldn't eat.
She told me when he was 1 that we should get him some type of services, and I actually fought that. I said, he's okay, he's a typical boy. I was like that when I was such and such age. I figured eventually he'll talk.
I didn't know what it meant. Could it be something that just someone could teach him and it'll go away? I didn't know anything about it until I started reading on it, what to go about. I was like, okay, we go home, we get a teacher and he'll be better in a couple of years. I didn't know the extent of autism at all.
A lot of parents, they just think their children are misbehaving or ADHD. They tend to try and diagnose the children themselves.
I thought that autism and intellectual disabilities were the same. No one ever taught me anything about the signs and symptoms of autism. It's one of the myths, of autism is that the child is either severely, retarded or mildly retarded, and that was my fear.
He used to always say that they're spoiled, they're not listening, and I would get mad.
It's a myth that someone might be acting out of order because they're spoiled, because I found out it's not a myth. I actually used to be one of those people who thought that was the problem. Oh, they just need a good whipping and they'll be okay, because that's how my mother and father did with me, and I thought all children were like that. But it's not always the answer. You're not going to spank the autism out of them, and I think for us, for African Americans, we need to understand that certain issues you just need to put it on the table so everybody understands.
But I would have friends who was like, there ain't nothing wrong with that girl. It was like, you just need to discipline her more. Like almost to say that I'm not doing my part as a parent.
There was a reason why these things were happening. There was a reason why our son was acting out in certain ways and expressing certain behaviors. And our goal was to find out, what it was. But that is the major problem that we face today in the African American community as far as dealing with autism is denial, not being willing to accept what the situation is.
I was born into denial.
How it feels.
It's sad.
Yeah. I love him, and I'm not really embarrassing him at all. My fear is I just want to be here as long as I can.
I don't think that you really ever accept the sadness. You deal with it because
you make room for it.
Yeah, because you have to be strong for him.
You can mourn, and it's okay because you have to take that time out for yourself. But it's still, that child is still your child. And at the end of the day, it's still about your child, and you have to do the best. It's just a little bit more work, but your child is still a beautiful child.
Naturally, grandmother wants to help out. Anything that she can get on autism, any kind of article that she gets, she's back packing envelopes. She lives about 3 miles from us, and she's mailing us stuff, you know. And that was her way of helping out.
She was looking for cures, and it was kind of funny. She would look up different things. She would come over like, we're gonna rub shea butter on the scalp every day. We're gonna really rub it in. And at first, I was kind of like, okay, Sal, this is too much. There is no cure.
Right.
For autism.
Yeah, there's no cure. There's no cure. There's
because it's not a disease, you know.
Right. You know, that was her way of trying to help out until she got that comfort of knowing that, okay, autism is not something that, you know, can't be controlled or it doesn't get better.
We involved her. We just started telling her, you know, come over on your day off. You know, we want you to really understand. Because she was afraid.
That's when I learned about autism. I had no idea what it was called. I just knew he was different from the other children.
Autism is something you don't cure, but you can certainly help it with services. Timothy got diagnosed at 2.5. I already felt like it was my fault that Timothy didn't get diagnosed when he was maybe first like a year or even 14 months. But now let me jump on everything because, you know, hopefully he'll be the best person he can.
I would say you never know unless you see about it first. Get them evaluated. All of this is free.
Find out early is better for your child's future.
Stephanie is more realist than I am, and it's so funny because I'm a firefighter. I see things all the time. I'm so hopeful for Timothy.
As the days go by and as you learn to do different things and as your child gets services, you learn different ways to handle it. And I mean, you might not have a normal family. Who has a normal family?
Exactly.
No one does. But that makes your family unique, and that makes your child unique.
How I infused that into the party world, like I said, outside of your birthday party. Also, me and Luz and Isaiah, and I'm a good promoter, good friend. Shouts out to him.
Right.
We did it at Essentials. We give out my traditional, which is the tradition now, the Blue Rose.
Right.
DJ Kool-Aid with the Blue Rose Dre nickname. That's where he gets it from.
That's where you get it from?
Yeah, because of the Blue Rose, I have customized and given out to people that come in there.
Nice. That's awesome. And make sure you check it out. I'm also going to provide some links at the end of the show. You can get more information if you want to donate, if you want to just learn more about it. Is there anything, like, besides the speech, is there any other signs that you know that parents usually pick up on as far as detecting that their kids may possibly have autism?
Eye contact, response to their names being called.
Okay.
Not really motor skills delays, maybe
Okay.
from walking.
Writing as well?
Not really. Writing, it comes later, obviously, on as they get older, because the comprehension.
Right.
Bathroom. Food. Food is a major one, because your kid can just lose their taste for any food and have to be stuck to a strict diet.
Oh.
So
they lose the desire to eat.
Right. My son Jordan, as he was advanced in other areas, but he lost the need to want to eat, except for Pediasure and soft foods, which at one point we were only Pediasure could put in his mouth.
Oh wow.
So now, gradually through food therapy, he's now eating blended foods, purees.
See, I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Diet, because it's a motor skill, so a motor and a taste and sensories. Sensories is also a big thing.
Okay.
Like if you have a kid in the haircut chair and they just panicking crazy, and you thinking that it's on like the barbershop chair. No, the clippers is like a tickle. It's a tickle to us.
Yeah.
Because we have controls of our nerves. But if you have a sensory overload,
right,
you feel
that could
like
be something very dramatic.
Right.
Right. Wow, I didn't know that.
Right. I had to go through my own sensories to identify my son's sensories.
Right.
Because, his mom's didn't know. And she's getting a haircut and he's screaming and kicking and fighting and clawing and scratching and wrestling, like you hurting him.
Yeah.
So I
just think they're just acting up. I mean, if
Right.
you don't really take the time, excuse me, to tune in.
Right.
And like you said, wow.
So when that clipper's on that skull,
Yeah.
and it's vibrating, you're going through an overload.
Wow.
The day he died, it was raining and mud and all that, so he had a sensory overload.
Yeah, yeah.
And then eventually, you know, he didn't drink. One myth, I don't know if it's a myth, but they keep saying, oh, he got drawn to the water. No, he fell in there. But, you know, you just got to have an alertness to your homes with autistic child, have it properly secured.
See?
And all types of, whatever the case may be. We're looking to get monitors placed on there.
That would be a great thing.
I seen a device now. I should have my stuff.
Almost something like a locator?
Yes.
Something like
you
that?
Gotta
Okay.
have that. You got to have that. Also, I have seen devices that other people have invented, but I had said initially you need something where it hits inflatable devices in case they do hit the water. You should
That would have been, yes.
Right. They need to wear something mandatory, maybe a mandatory inflator in their Pampers, their pants, their clothing that they wear at night clothes, in case they wander. Because you got to put the awareness on the parents. Like, you have a child with autism, so you better be on not 80% as most parents can do, but you got to be at 150% at least.
You do.
On alertness and awareness and so forth. These parents are so indulged in their denial that, and it's human nature, that one gap, that one margin of error that you can get away with another child of normal reaction.
It won't work. It may not work in this case, right?
Right. You know what I'm saying? Avante and all that. You go now, you in the wild, you're like a parakeet that escaped the cage.
No, you're right. You're so right.
We are at a very exciting time, I think, in the history of the science of autism. I have been in the field for many years, and when I started, autism really was a black box. So over the last several years, we've learned a lot about many aspects of autism. We now know, for example, that many genes contribute to autism. At the other end, we know much more about behavior. We can actually detect autism now and early symptoms in a young baby. But how do we link what we're learning about the basic biology, things like genetics, with behavior? And I think circuits is that link that we need in order to really translate what we're learning from genetics, which tells us a lot about perhaps the molecular basis of autism, to behavior. We've been able to show that in humans that autism does involve disruptions in neurocircuitry that we can measure with electrophysiology. So now we have the potential to maybe even make a link between much more detailed and elegant studies of neurocircuitry in the animal and then translating them to the human. And most importantly, being able to test whether a therapy could restore the functioning of that neurocircuit. If you look back, for example, in the field of autism, and how science is developed, parents played a key role in two ways. One is that they were the advocates who got the government, NIH, to be funding autism research. So in autism, there have been a number of bills that have been passed over decades, and these have always been passed because parents have really insisted that that funding take place. So they have a very important voice in providing funding for research, and without that funding, it just cannot happen. A second very important role is telling us what matters to them. So again, if you look back at the history of autism and what we've learned about the symptoms that people with autism experience, or a parent would report about their child, they have taught us a lot. So just one example, autism is involved not only with problems in information processing, but it affects the whole body. And it was parents who really told us that we also needed to pay attention to things like GI problems or sleep. And so they're always directing us to the things that are really important. And when we think about developing treatments, we want to develop those things that the people who are struggling with these disorders that are important to them. I have never been more excited about the science of autism and our hope for the future. I do think we are on a cusp or a revolution in terms of our understanding of the brain. And I think that understanding of the brain, which involves our understanding of neural circuits, is going to lead to major breakthroughs. It takes information and expertise from many disciplines, genetics, neuroscience, clinical science, engineering. But we have all of those fields combined with amazing breakthroughs in technology. And those are coming together right now, I think, for the first time in history in a way that will lead to real breakthroughs. So I'm extremely hopeful.
I appreciate you coming and sharing that personal story and that information with us, because hopefully it will help somebody else out there that watches this program to, if their child hasn't been diagnosed, to think about some of the things that you said and make the effort to look into it and see if that could be something that they need to check on with their own child. So thank you for sharing that. Make sure you do check out the websites, come out, join the group page for support and more information, and check out Regal Quality as a brand out here doing what he does, helping everyone to network and enjoy life, I guess, this week, on the lighter side of things. And I just want to thank you for joining me and for coming out today. Mr. Andre Morrison, y'all, make sure you support. Deborah COCO will be right back.
Every Sunday night at 10 p.m. on BronxNet Channel 68, and look for us on YouTube.
Testimonial Link, a DJTV music distribution.